tourism, travel, vacation, or holiday for the Brits, whatever you call it, going somewhere else to have some fun. Even in ancient times, people traveled for all sorts of reasons, whether it be for economic purposes like trade or just to go exploring. And there's a decent amount of conquering in there as well. But even in ancient times, people actually went on vacation for fun. Just rich people for the most part. However, it was done. Even Egyptian scholars mention the fact that people went on vacations. Now, these were mostly pharaohs. We don't really know too much about normal people, but anyone in the upper crust, they probably got a vacation at some point. Of course, when the Greeks came along with their ships, they really expanded travel, both for vacation purposes as well as for conquering and mostly for economics. And the age-old join the Navy and see the world really got people to travel. For trade and warfare, many men went to sea to find their destiny. That rhymed. I think many of us, whether man or woman, have that same desire, that innate desire to go out and explore the world and find something new. Through the Greeks and Romans, trade began between the East and West, and it continued all the way through the Roman Empire. Explorers charted much of the known world at the time, both up into northern Europe and down through Africa and east. There were obviously parts of the map that were blank. Earliest known travel book is from the 1st century AD. Now, the Romans really liked vacations. They lived in cities full, just crowded full of people, and they really wanted to get out into the countryside. That's where baths come in. Both the British city of Bath and dozens of others, hundreds maybe, even across the empire. City dwellers were trying to escape the clogged arteries of those streets to get a little bit of fresh air and free time next to the beach. After the Roman Empire fell, many people probably think that people stopped traveling. And in some ways they did, but in others, they really didn't. Economic trade continued to the east, although it did die off slightly when the Muslim Caliphate took over the area around the Red Sea, cutting off most of the trade from India to the Mediterranean. During medieval times, many people actually traveled. These were called pilgrimages. They were normally two important sites for the Christian world, although Muslim, Buddhist, and Hindus also had similar styles of pilgrimage, and I'm sure many other religions that are lesser known did as well. One of the most famous stories of a pilgrimage is the Canterbury Tales from the 1300s. Obviously, the most popular place to go on a pilgrimage was Jerusalem. However, once the Muslim Empire took over and prevented the Christians from going there, hence the Crusades, people started going to other places, especially Rome, to see the Pope as well as the relics of the Roman Empire. This would often take people years because they went by foot. Entire industry of vacation tourist traps sprung up, whether these were just kind of hotel style things like we would think of today, bed and breakfast types maybe, even other pilgrimage sites that you would stop along the way before going to the main pilgrimage site. On top of that, many hundreds of pilgrimage sites sprung up all over Europe that had nothing to do with Rome or Jerusalem, but protested to have some sort of saintly relic. And maybe you couldn't go all the way out to Europe, but you could stop by Canterbury. Now, as Italian cities grew in power and prestige, many people wanted to go visit there, and they went and spread their knowledge through trade across the Mediterranean. Florence and Venice especially were known for the power of their small city-states. Their success helped catalyze the Renaissance, making it a whole new era for travel and a renewed interest in the classical world, especially Italy and Greece. And this would be the start of what was known as the Grand Tour. The upper crust of rich and noble men across the Western world headed to the classical world to learn what they could from those regions. Now, these tours often went for years at a time because, after all, if it takes months just to get to Italy, you can't just up and leave after a week. So what would happen? They would bring their tutors and their teachers with them, and they would learn all the art, history, culture, and literature of those places, as well as getting fluent in Latin and Greek. And for the wealthy, this became kind of a rite of passage to become a man. You couldn't really know anything until you went and looked at old stuff in Italy. As the Industrial Revolution kicked off, steam-powered locomotives and boats began to become more common across the world. And because of this, it became cheaper, faster, and more effective and efficient to get to those far-flung places, meaning that more normal people could go to cool locales and discover. Soon Americans flocked to Europe, including Teddy Roosevelt as a child. Him and his family went to Europe for nearly a year to learn what they could about the ancient world. Subscribe! In the US, going on vacation became more and more common. Even Yosemite National Park, before it was National Park, was a popular tourist destination all the way back in the 1850s, in the middle of the gold rush. Florida and Cuba became popular destinations following the Spanish-American War. Travel really ignited with the internal combustion engine of cars becoming more commonplace around the country. More roads, just like it was during Roman times, made it easier to travel further faster. Now, this was around the time that camping also became really popular because they wanted a throwback to a more rugged era. Travel didn't really kick off until after World War II. These GIs saw Europe, the Pacific, Africa, Hawaii, and Australia. And when they weren't busy killing bad guys, they got to look around a little bit and realize it was super cool and pretty there. And many of them wanted to come back at some point, a little less bloodshed and a little bit more bathing suits. Coupled with American success and supremacy over the oceans, Americans fully embraced this opportunity to see the world, travel safely anywhere on the globe. As jets took to the skies, travel flew even higher. And now travel is a normal and enjoyable part of many people's lives, which is why I'm super excited about a possible opportunity that we could travel together somewhere in the world. A super cool company called Trip, which has worked with many other history creators in the past, have reached out to me and they would like me to see if you guys would want to go on a cool trip together. But first, I need to gauge some interest to see if you guys would even be interested in going and touring historic sites with me and professional tour guides. So if you follow the link below, there's a 2-minute survey. Super quick, super easy. There's no commitment, no credit cards, nothing like that. It's just 2 minutes to see where would you guys like to go, what's your normal budget looking like, and would you like to go on a fun vacation with me somewhere in the world? And if you could be so kind as to follow that link and take that survey, I would really appreciate it, because I think it would be such a fun opportunity to get to know some of you more. I realize that a lot of people won't be able to afford a trip like this. I probably wouldn't be able to if it was a normal thing. But as I said, this is no commitment. I just need to get at least 50 people to fill out this survey and let me know if you guys are interested in the idea of traveling with me somewhere. And whether or not you end up wanting to go on this trip, totally okay. But I would love for the ability to plan a trip with you guys. I think it would be just so fun, a great learning experience. Our current frontrunner is Italy, which I'm super excited about. I would love to eat some actual Italian pizza, see some Roman things, maybe talk to an Italian girl or two. And if this goes well, I could definitely see doing a couple of these trips every year. So if you could do me the favor of filling out that short survey, I would really appreciate it. Let's go traveling through history together. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in Rome.